This month on cable, from a lawless pagan land he led his people, driven by a belief in one God. Abraham, the world premiere of a new TNT two-part movie. And cable swings into sports action with Major League Baseball coverage on ESPN. And it was the film that had everyone talking. Now, cable gives you a chance to see it for yourself. Indecent Proposal, only on HBO.
Coming through for you.
On Cablevision of Orange.
TBTL.
Hi, and welcome to TJO Pooter Toots, where you're sure to have the rootinest, tootinest, pootinest good meal.
I don't know who that is, and I don't care to find out.
You know, a lot of people may not know this, but I happen to be quite famous.
I have never heard someone say so many wrong things, one after the other, consecutively in a row.
Shh. I get it. I know. I know who you are. It's been explained to me. I've been following your career forever. Be quiet. I'm into it. Let's talk.
Well, all right. Hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Tuesday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
Heck yeah! That's what I'm talking about.
My name is Luke Burbank. I am your host.
Meet the next generation of podcast stars.
Coming to you once again from beautiful Davenport, Iowa. Iowa's front porch.
Oh, yeah.
Perched high above the mighty Mississippi River. We are ready, folks, for episode 4485 in a collector series.
Let the fun begin.
Now, I don't know if you're sitting down as you're listening to this, but you might want to, because I have some news about major corporations, including major banks in America. Turns out they may not care that much about their customers.
And when he said that, that shocked me.
For instance, if you accidentally overtipped at a vape shop by about $5,000, you'd think your bank might try to help you remedy that situation, but that is not what's happening for one woman in Northern California. So we'll talk about that. And
so you got my money?
Oh, and we're also going to talk to this guy. He's the longest-running Cobra of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships.
In short, things are going extremely well for him.
He is Andrew Walsh, and he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Luke. I owe you an apology. You had asked me during yesterday's show to remind you of something that you wanted to talk about. The show went forward. I never reminded you, and we never got to the topic. Do you know what the topic is that I'm thinking of?
I do. It was the fact that I have accidentally created maybe the world's largest litter box in my yard back home where I live in southern Washington for the many, many, many feral cats that live in my neighborhood. I'm talking, 10 or 20 just cats that live outside. I don't really know if anyone takes care of them. I will say I don't have any problems with, it would appear, rats or rodents around my house, which is kind of crazy because I live at the top of like an acre of just tall grass on a hill. So I guess I got to give it up to them for that at least. But yeah, what happened is it's kind of complicated, but basically I have this thing that was in my yard when I bought the house, which was, you know what railroad ties are, right?
Yeah,
Those
of course.
big kind of long creosote soaked things. Somebody had kind of built into the hillside like a kind of a raised garden bed out of these railroad ties. And so I then got the bright idea to actually put some new soil in there and try to grow some vegetables last year. I bought this kooky vegetable mat on Instagram, which was a total pretty big waste of time and money, so I would not recommend that. I'd just say, do it the old-fashioned way. But I planted these vegetables last year, and then the deer ate most of the vegetables, and also I wasn't even around to harvest the ones. I probably got like 2 salads out of it, which, somebody pointed out, I think that, if you decide to grow your own garden like that, you too can spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in order to have about 1 salad per season, if you're me. So this year I decided what I want to do is, instead of growing the vegetables in the actual dirt that's in that raised bed thing, I'm going to cover that with landscaping fabric, put down a layer of gravel, and then build additional raised beds that are going to sit in this larger thing. And those now, because I've decided the problem is not that I have a brown thumb, which I kind of do, or that I'm not really good at tending to vegetables. The problem was the vegetables I was growing were not in raised beds.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes.
That's the issue.
I mean, it was raised, but not raised in a tiered
enough.
system. Yes.
Exactly. Not raised beds sitting atop a larger raised bed.
I will say it sounds satisfying. Like, I'll give you credit there. Like, I can picture what you're talking about, and having an area that is already sort of raised, and then you're going to like create little segments within is kind of cool.
Yes, and I can walk between. Well, my brother-in-law Josh, who is, I mean, look out Ed Hume, look out Cisco. I think he's a recognized certified master gardener at this point. He has all these raised beds at his house, and he's growing all this cool stuff. So then, and he said, yeah, you might want to do that. One, there's less bending over. They're just literally a little bit higher. Also, you know, you can really control what's going on in the soil. Like, there's just a lot of benefit to doing this raised bed thing. Well, so what ended up happening was I ordered 3 yards of gravel, which doesn't sound like very much. I don't understand this unit of measurement, by the way. 3 yards seems like, oh, that's an amount of distance that you should give the ball to Marshawn Lynch instead of throwing it to Ricardo Lockett. That's what I think of as 3 yards.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. It's a lot of material. If you're ordering yards of like gravel, like I was, pea gravel, they come with a big truck and they dump a huge pile in your driveway.
Is it cubic yards? Is that why?
Maybe. What I know is that when I went to the gravel place, I was fully ready to order 30 yards for this thing. And I had measured the square footage of this area, and thankfully I gave it to the very helpful woman who worked there. And I said, this is the square footage. How many yards do you think I need? And she said, that's 3. I was like, so I was only off by a factor of 10.
Yeah, right. Boy, imagine if you had gotten all that gravel.
I mean, well, first of all, yeah, it would have been really expensive. And also, the 3 yards almost killed me, Andrew, to like shovel it and put it into the wheelbarrow and then take it down. I mean, it was, I don't know how many trips it was. It was so many trips. And one of the things I noticed was as I was getting down into the sort of, and this pile, again, was a really large sort of pile of rock. But as I took about, I don't know, I took it down about 30% at a time. So I did about 30% of the pile, and then I got tired. And the next day I went back, and by the end, what I realized was like, man, it really kind of smells funky out here. And as I was digging through this gravel and throwing it into the wheelbarrow, I kept encountering so much cat poop in there.
Oh, sure.
They love it. And the problem
is... So it's pretty fine gravel, huh?
It's not. No, that's
They're
the thing.
Cats,
it's not like Fresh Step.
Yeah.
I guess cats don't care.
Huh.
I mean, it's. I would have thought that this would be kind of annoying on their little paws. That like they wouldn't.
Yeah.
This would not be very, I don't know, inviting for them. They apparently love it because, and the problem is, I am actually creating, what I'm doing now is I'm spreading this gravel out in a much thinner layer along in this raised bed thing so that it's, mostly it keeps the landscaping fabric down. It looks nice, whatever. But I'm really making it hospitable for them now. Like they were willing to go into like a giant pile of this stuff, dig their way in and go to the bathroom. And now I'm basically creating what almost looks like and is, for all intents and purposes, the best litter box these cats have ever encountered.
Yeah, because before they had to sort of mountain goat it, right? They had to get up there on the
again, if I'm a cat and I've got to drop a deuce, this doesn't seem that inviting to me the way the gravel was piled up. Now it's like, I mean, it. And the other thing is, there's no keeping them out of this area. Like, I am also working on the project of trying to build up some kind of fencing so the deer won't come in. But the cats, forget about it. Like, they are going to absolutely have a time in this place. And I don't really know what I'm going to do about it other than, I guess, have to shovel a lot of cat poop out there.
So you were telling a story about gardening. And in the story about gardening, you said it's a waste of time. And I literally can't hear the phrase, it's a waste of time, without hearing Cisco Morris in the audio drop that you often play saying, and let me do a little performance here. Are you okay? I don't know if you're looking for it. I don't know if you have it, access to it, but I would like to give you my impression of it, okay?
Yes.
I need like when we play darts, sometimes Genevieve gets some warm-up rounds. I might need some warm-ups, but here's how I think that drop sounds in my head. It's a waste of time to do that. No, it's a waste of time to do that. How about that?
Pretty good. Do you want to hear the real one?
I want to hear the real one. Let's hear it.
Okay, one more, and then I'm going to go right into Cisco.
Okay. there's something that's happening near the end. It's right in my head, but it's like when you have a song in your head and then you realize you can't sing as soon as you open your mouth. It's a waste of time to do that.
It's a waste of time to do that.
That's pretty good.
It's a waste of time to do that. Yeah, it's a waste of. I love that. I hear that in my head all the time.
Now I have a longer one. Let's see what this one is.
That's not going to do any good at all. Not a bit. It's a waste of time to do that.
Oh, was that almost a super cut, or do you think that was him actually just taking a pause in conversation?
I think that was just. I'm trying to remember what the origin of this was. I mean, I don't see him doing a bunch of wild tracks for them to put in somewhere. I think this is him responding to something that somebody was asking him.
That's not going to do any good at all. Not a bit. It's a waste of time to do that.
I thought maybe you had collected that and put a. But
oh,
no,
la la.
I think there's something about that recording where it's like the ambient sound kind of drops away. But I think it is.
So maybe it is. Maybe it is
one.
Like,
well, it could just be all one. It was just recorded in that kind of somewhat funky way. But that is like Cisco Morris going hard. By the way, you know what I mean? Like he's a very open guy, but like he whatever was just brought to his attention, like he's like, no, we're not even considering that. We're not considering. We're drawing a line in the gravel.
Absolutely.
Here.
Yeah.
Beautiful purple balls.
I knew that one was going to be coming up pretty soon.
The other thing that I didn't tell you about, get to on yesterday's show, was actually my long day's journey into night trying to get to Davenport, Iowa, from Portland, Oregon, which involved me flying very early on Sunday morning. And I'm going to leave out the whole. Something is amiss with the upgrade system at Alaska Airlines, by the way, Andrew. I know that's not the most relatable content for the listeners generally, other than our friend Broadcast Barry. And me complaining about not getting to fly first class is not. It's not the best look, let's just say. But there is something up right now and I'm about to go on a forum. I'm about to do something I rarely do, which is go find some Fly Talk forum and ask people, is this happening to you? Because probably the last 4 flights, I've been the first on the list for an upgrade, and there have been available seats in first class as of like an hour or two before the flight. And then mysteriously, when the flight takes off, all of first class is full. So either I've just had tremendously weird luck that I've been on 4 flights where someone has decided to buy 2 first class tickets like an hour before a flight, a 7 a.m. flight out of Portland on a Sunday, or I don't know what's going on. There's something going on with the way these upgrades work.
It was very, very difficult for me not to interrupt you during that because you don't have to go to a forum. A forum has been copied and pasted and sent to us. Listener Lee sent us an email late last week saying, and I'm looking for it here. These were more directed towards you, so I might have deleted them now. But the first one was Lee saying I had something very similar happen. Like Lee said, I don't travel as much as you, but I'm pretty regular flyer. I know the rhythm of these things.
I've got this in front of me now, by the way.
Do you have the second one? Do you have the follow-up? He's like, the same thing happened to me, and he developed a theory about it. And then he followed up and said, yep, my theory is right. People are talking about this in the chat rooms and in the clubs that apparently it looks like Alaska might be doing something different where they're making it more available to sell those seats that you used to be waiting for.
This was I'm kind of speed reading Lee's second email, and it confirms a suspicion that I've had, which is Alaska Airlines has probably started if it's an hour before or it's 2 hours before the flight, and they have seats in first class that no one has purchased, and someone is buying a coach seat, they will offer them an upgrade to first class for a shockingly small amount of money, which any normal person would probably take. Like, why not, And so this is a bummer because what it means is us hardworking road warriors with our Toomey luggage who are obsessively refreshing the screen to see how we're doing with our upgrade are actually being punished for the fact that our ticket has been purchased well in advance.
It does seem to devalue the whole point system, doesn't it? Like you and I know Broadcast Barry, but you did it at least once, took a specific flight just to rack up a bunch of miles. So you dedicated a lot of time on, a long flight and the cost of that flight. And I know we got in this whole thing
flew to Germany.
Yes, and that was last time. And this time you almost did it, but then you thought you bought some points, but it turns out the points you bought aren't as valid as the points you earn. And like people are going through like some pretty great lengths lengths, yourself included, obviously, and now suddenly they've totally devalued that. Why would you even do that anymore? I guess they can just make more money by reducing the price of these first-class tickets at the last minute and just, like, get the money right there. Cash on a barrel.
Yeah, like they're getting $400. Let's just go with Lee's example. He says, on the red eye from Maui to San Diego tonight, $100K first on the upgrade list. I get upgraded on this flight probably 90% of the time. A few days before the flight, it cost you $1,800 to basically upgrade to first class. 3 hours before the flight, the price drops to $200.
Yeah.
I talked to the agent at Bag Check about it an hour before boarding. Both seats still available. She's confident I'll get the upgrade. 20 minutes before boarding, upgrades are sold. I'm not sure if they lowered the price again. So basically, yeah, I mean, the upside for Alaska Airlines is they made an extra, let's say, $400 on that flight they wouldn't have. The downside is that you're right. It's going to, over time, make Lee and myself and other people, like, we're not going to crawl through over broken glass the way we have been in order to get these upgrades. If you're not going to get them, I'll just start flying whomever, and I'll just basically make peace with the fact that my days of ever getting to be in first class are over.
Yeah, and again, I guess somebody must be looking at the numbers and just saying, well, because if a whole bunch of people stop, like, opting into this, system, then, and they're just going to make the money right there at the gate by lowering $1,800 tickets to $200, they must have just made a decision, huh?
Yeah, but they should. Who knows? Maybe it's somewhere. By the way, I think what I was reading was Lee posting from an Alaska Reddit page. I don't think that was our friend Lee talking about flying from Maui and getting upgraded 90% of the time. Just so people know who the editorial voice was there.
Yeah, some of it was his story, and then I think he switched to copying and pasting some stuff he found online.
But yeah, I'm sure maybe somewhere deep in the legalese of the Alaska website, maybe they've mentioned that there's a that they're doing this now, or that who knows, or maybe they don't. I mean, they don't have to tell you this. Like, I don't think they're legally obligated probably to report this out to people. But if it keeps happening, again, something has definitely shifted, and it's been very confusing for me because, and I'm very sensitive. I'm a canary in this coal mine. Like, even that time when that baby was up there, and I was like, then the the person at the gate was kind of saying, well, we don't just give these seats away, which she was right. They don't just give them away, but what they do is they sell them now apparently for dirt cheap. And like, that would also explain why somebody went from not even having a seat on the plane, not even having an assigned seat, to suddenly being in first class. It's because basically you were looking at the list. You were maybe on the flight, but you hadn't actually gotten an assigned seat, and then you found out that for like $100 more, you could actually just go right to first class. I mean, that's a sweet deal if you get that. But my point is, I am probably, again, this is not the best look for me, but I am probably more aware of a disturbance in this force than, well, even the people that work at Alaska Airlines, because they are not like living and dying by the question of if we're going to get upgraded on our way to Chicago O'Hare at 7. And that's the other thing. I was flying at 7 in the morning on a Sunday, and the flight was practically empty. It was all of the middle seats were open, except, guess which one, Andrew? The row that I was in. I had 3 people in my row, which also was a major bummer. That's actually not even what I want to talk about, though. When I got to O'Hare, my flight kept from O'Hare to Moline, Illinois, to the Quad Cities Airport, was delayed, I don't know, 6 or 7 times. And it was just chaos at O'Hare, absolute chaos. And at one point, so the gate changed probably 5 times for me.
Still in the same kind of area, or were these pretty drastic changes?
No, I ended up creating this unlikely cohort of people that I had met at the restaurant, because we were all just sitting there having some like lunch, and then the woman next to me was like, ugh. She kept getting annoyed at her phone, and I said, are you on the flight to Moline? And she's like, yeah. And it just keeps getting changed, and they keep changing the gate, and so then it was going to be at this. I went literally to a totally different terminal where the gate had supposedly been moved, and then when I got there, I was sitting there for 20 minutes, I get an alert on my phone that it's actually moved back to where I just was, but like one gate over, back to the K gates or whatever. Then the plane lands, and like, this is going to be our flight to Moline. We're very excited. Other people are having their flights canceled completely. Kalamazoo was shit out of luck. I was sitting there, and they're like, the flight to Kalamazoo, which doesn't even sound like a real thing. Peace and love to our listeners in Kalamazoo, Michigan. But like, the flight attendant just going, the flight to Kalamazoo. I was expecting it to be Ben Stein.
Mm-hmm.
We have an announcement. the flight to Kalamazoo has been canceled. And then John Candy just gets up very frustrated.
Yeah, it sounds like something that somebody says in a writer's room.
Yeah. So we we at least allegedly had this plane, and then our pilot and the co-pilot are standing there about to board our plane, and then they get some alert on their phone and they go, "Oh, I guess we're going on another flight." And then they just leave. They take about 20 steps, and then they get another update on their phone, and they're like, "Oh, I guess actually we are flying this plane." And then they just come back to our plane. So it was.
That's very strange. I don't know if I ever have seen my flight crew just get up and leave the plane. I don't know if I want to see that.
Exactly. Like they were waiting to board. Then they thought they were supposed to go fly a different flight, which would have been really bad for us because then we would have not had a crew. They started going to their next destination and were told to come back to fly us to Moline. The actual most dramatic part of the day, though, unfolded when I was having some lunch at this like sushi place, and they have like TVs and stuff, right? And I hear this guy just going off on the like server, the woman behind the counter, because she can't get some golf tournament on the TV for him.
Oh my God!
And he was so
bar, my dude.
And not even a sports bar, right? It isn't, there's like a Chicago Cubs bar in the airport that's probably very tuned in. And this, you know what they were playing? They were playing some movie with Noah Wyle where he's like, it's kind of an off-brand Indiana Jones. Is it like King Solomon's Mines or something or whatever? I don't know. I didn't know this, but Noah Wyle was in some kind of a Indiana Jones-ish movie at some point that I watched about half of while I was sitting there eating. But this poor woman, she's got like she's trying to use the on-demand, or whatever you call it, the direct TV thing and stuff. And it's like, those are notoriously hard to operate, even at sports bars. Like you and I have both been in a million sports bars where like, do you have this game? And like half of the job, if you work at a sports bar, is getting the game on. And even there, it's always a situation, right? So now, how about this woman who doesn't work at a sports bar in an airport?
In an airport, you don't get to choose what you're going to watch at an airport bar. Like, you can ask, but you have to accept the answer.
And you don't get to yell at them.
No, this guy was never get to yell at anybody.
No, and especially not in this situation. He's just like, and he's fully having a meltdown. Like, he's like, just forget it. Just give me my, just fine then. I don't want, and like he had ordered a beer that he didn't want to pay for now because like, since he wasn't going to get to watch his golf tournament that he wanted to watch. And he was being so rude to this woman, and literally everybody kind of stopped. And I was just like, am I going to get involved here or not? Also, it helps. I was not drinking. So I felt like somehow more liberated by that because I was like, I'm kind of in my right mind right now. So I just like took out my AirPods and I just said, "Hey, it's an airport." And he goes, "What?" And I go, "It's an airport, dude." And I go, "And yes, I'm talking to you." And it was really interesting because this guy went from being an absolute turd to this woman who was to an absolutely terrified that like he was being called out.
Look at you.
Well, I'm not trying to tell this story of like I'm being a hero at all, because also I was talking past a person who I could tell this guy who was next to me was like, I don't know if I want to be in the middle of this.
I don't want to be in between these two guys. Yeah.
And I had no intention of like getting out of my chair or like physically threatening this guy. Again, not having vitamin A in my system probably helped.
I mean, can you imagine getting into a bar fight in an airport bar, Luke? That would be a new low for anybody, I think.
Do you think? Have I done that already?
Have you?
I thought maybe that was a reference to some story from my my besotted youth.
I know some people who are like recovering alcoholics, and everybody's sort of got their rock bottom moment, and they vary. I don't think this was somebody's rock bottom moment, but I remember somebody in my life talking about like they really realized one of the things that happened near the end of their drinking before they went into the program was like they were traveling kind of a lot anyway, I think for work, but they were in an airport bar and they just missed their flight accidentally, and then just camped out at the bar for like the rest of the day. I don't remember the details of it, but it just was something about like, you get a beer, you get a drink at an airport bar, but then at one point you just like start missing your flights, and then you don't even start trying to
I've had that happen, by the way.
Yeah.
I missed a connection in Las Vegas, and I was sitting in the waiting area playing a slot machine and drinking, and it literally was so out of my mind that I I did not realize it was time to go walk over and get onto the airplane and just fully missed the flight. You know, I would what I would say is I kind of can imagine getting into a fight at an airport bar because there is a lot of alcohol flowing and emotions run high for people.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go
people
ahead.
are cranky, Andy.
Yeah.
But it was, again, I realize as I'm telling the story that it is kind of me being like, you know, Luke, crusader for justice or something. I don't mean it to sound this way, but like I just said to the guy, I go, it's an airport. I go, I said, also, have you heard of Fubo? He goes, what? And I go, do you need to borrow $20 so you can watch it on your iPad, dude? Because I'll loan you $20. And I could just see that he was like so mad still and sputtering, but definitely did not want, he was not, you know, probably a guy who wanted to get in. And again, I was just sitting on my stool. I wasn't like coming at him or anything.
Yeah.
And I could just see he was so mad and confused because he was still mad at the person working at the bar. But also now his focus was on me and he was just like sputtering. And I was just like, and he goes, well, they don't even have the golf tournament on here. And I go, yeah, well, that doesn't mean you can ruin her day.
They don't have. He didn't mean on Fubo. I thought for a second like he's actually now.
We didn't
Fubo.
get into the
I'm
actual programming.
That would be amazing. You're kind of like then it ends up you guys talking about who's starting for the Mariners.
Right.
No, I.
Then we're best friends.
He just sort of restated his thesis. By the way, is the server?
Yes.
Clocking any of this? Is the server in earshot? Is she getting a little bit nervous seeing you get a little aggro?
I didn't know. I was not aware of the server's whereabouts at this time, but what basically happened was the guy angrily signed his little thing or whatever, and he kind of gathered up his stuff. And that was where I was like, all right, I have now started this snowball rolling down this hill. Now this guy's leaving. Is he going to come over to me? Am I going to have to get off the stool? Is this going to be a whole thing? And in fact, he did not. He just kind of left meekly with his stuff. And then the server came over and said, hey, thank you so much.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, hey, no problem. Again, I realize as I'm telling the story that it sounds like I'm some kind of a hero, but
no, that tells a lot.
Yeah, so
that tells a lot of the story because you could just. This is one of those stories where you could tell it from everybody's perspective.
Yes.
We just heard it from your perspective. This guy probably told this to somebody in his life. That would be an interesting perspective. I'm just trying to watch the game. They're being unhelpful.
And the guy's yelling at me.
Then there's this bro at the end of the bar who's, the server's perspective is interesting. The person in between the two of you. What do you call that type of filmmaking where you see it from every different angle?
Well, Rashomon is the famous example. What's that?
I almost said Rochambeau, which is different. Anyway, I would love this from everybody's perspective, but honestly, I think that the server thanked you tells a lot to me how it was interpreted, like the level to which he was being let's just say verbally abusive to this person or whatever word you want to use, and then it says a lot about like what your tone was and how the whole thing was handled, because I could also see a server just being like, listen, I don't need this on my hands either, but if she thanked you, then it sounds like you did the right thing.
And again, not to keep going back to this, but probably because I wasn't drunk, I didn't make any physical threats at all. I just basically said, you're being rude and it's not necessary. I did offer to loan him money for Fubo. I did do that part. But probably, the reason that it ended up working out okay and did not add more stress to this server's life was because I wasn't getting up off of the chair and like going chest to chest with the guy or saying you bleed for me or doing any of my normal antics. So it didn't ever get to where, like, oh my God, are these two grown men going to like punch each other in my restaurant, which would be majorly stressful for them.
It seems like such a bad place to get into a bar fight. I just got to reiterate that. You got, like, is this a federal crime now because you're at a port? I don't know, like at an airport? I don't know.
I see a lot on TikTok. I see so much body cam footage of people being arrested at airports for being drunk and disorderly. There's basically like, it all stems from drunkenness. And there's kind of like, basically, there's sort of there's three main camps, okay? There's three legs in the stool of disorderly airport conduct, okay? And again, it all starts from the point of being drunk. But one of them is you missed your flight. They just closed the door to your flight, and you're screaming at the gate agent and are threatening them, and the airport police have been called on you. That's one. The other is you're actually on the plane. You somehow got on the plane, but you've now been deemed too drunk to stay on the plane. They have not taken off yet, but you refused to leave the plane, and now the police are standing in the aisle trying to get you to leave the flight.
I saw one of those recently.
And the third is you have decided for some reason drunkenly to not pay your tab at one of the airport bars or restaurants and are now sitting waiting for your flight.
That enough to be a theme? That's crazy.
Multiple ones like this. In fact, I just watched one the other day during my many hours, at O'Hare Airport. I watched one. I mean, do you want to talk about irony? I watched this guy who had a $35 tab at the whatever, fill in the blank, bar in the airport, and he wouldn't pay the tab. And so the server, who's still fully in her uniform and everything, is like, yeah, that's him. And the airport police are like, sir, you have a $35 tab. You need to pay it. And that's all the guy has to do is just pay his $35 tab. But he was so drunk. He was a kind of older guy, maybe 60s. And he just kept saying the cop had touched him. I think put his hand on his shoulder or something. He was like, don't you ever touch me again in your life. Capiche? He just kept saying, don't you ever touch me again in your life. Capiche? He was really into the word capiche.
That's so funny. Vives and I say capiche. There's an old Mr. Show sketch where some guy says, or no, maybe it's Tim and Eric, capiche. And we say it to each other all the time. I'm worried that it'll slip out in public at some point.
Well, don't get very drunk and then refuse to pay your bill at the airport restaurant because it may come out at the wrong time, because this guy's saying capiche over and over again. It was just, and him telling the cop, don't you ever touch me again in your life. I was thinking, it's unlikely your paths will cross again. I think that's a pretty easy thing for this guy to commit to. But also what's so weird about watching these things unfold is you just have to think about, what is this person going to be thinking tomorrow when they wake up in airport jail over a thing that was so avoidable.
Yeah.
Generally speaking in these, it's just, could you just pay your tab, please? And it's instead of paying the $35, he's now, trespassed from the airport. He's, I don't know what it's probably a misdemeanor, whatever it is, but it's there's probably a resisting charge if he gets into it, if he's pushing around with the cops. It's oh man, dude, you are good. It's weird to watch someone kind of in real time go, and you're like, oh man, you are going to hate yourself tomorrow so much for this dude. Capiche? This is so not worth it, man.
I mean, obviously, alcohol is a powerful drug, and it makes people act like this anyway. But then I do think it's combined with this idea that people think there's some, especially if you're not a seasoned traveler, or maybe either way, you just see yourself as a different person. I think in an airport, it really does feel like a no man's land. It feels like nobody knows me here.
It's like international waters.
It's international waters. Yeah. By the way, the thing I was thinking of is from. I got a couple of things. First of all, I want to blow your mind here for a second. Okay.
Okay. Can I blow your mind?
I'm just going to blow your mind here for a second.
Chris is walking out of the room.
He knows exactly where I'm going with this. I think what you saw on the television, which explains why they wouldn't want to change it, was part of the Librarian franchise.
Is that the Noah Wyle movie?
Listen to this. The Librarian is a franchise. I wish I had said librarian better there. I'm going to start over. The Librarian is a franchise that includes a series of original fantasy adventure made-for-television films from TNT, starring Noah Wyle.
It was definitely TNT.
Starring Noah Wyle as the librarian who protects a secret collection of magical artifacts. It sort of sounds like that. What's that Nick Cage kind of kids movie?
National Treasure.
Sounds like a National Treasure thing, right? It looks like they're based on books and novels. I don't know. Maybe one of the books is short stories. I don't know why they break them apart like that. But then they end up making a television series called The Librarians and The Librarians The Next Chapter. Here are the films. The Librarian, Quest for the Spear. The Librarian, Return to King Solomon's Mines. And
That's
Librarian,
the one I think I saw.
Really? Curse of the Judas Chalice. I love the way those names make me realize all of these early 2000s Indiana Jones-esque adventure movies, you could create a name generator for them, right? Like Quest, Return, Curse, you need some sort of an action, but then the Judas Chalice, you just need an adjective, a noun, and a verb sort of, and just kind of mix them all up, and you can come up with a bunch of names like that.
It actually looked kind of entertaining. The volume wasn't on, so I didn't really know what they were exactly doing, but it seemed like a kind of a fun movie to just sort of while away, like a rainy Saturday afternoon with. You know what I mean? I actually thought, I could kind of see this. Wiley away. Noah Wiley away. But anyway, yeah. So that was my. Oh, and then the other thing that happened was when I landed. Finally, we get to Moline, and I go to call the lift to go to the hotel, and I had it's a little confusing because we're filming in Iowa, but I'm staying in the quads. I'm staying in Davenport, Iowa, but I flew into Illinois, and these are these quad cities, these 4 cities that are kind of clustered on the Mississippi River. And I thought I had sort of checked it out on the map beforehand, but I'm prone to like flying to the wrong island in Hawaii and things like that. I get my bags and I go to call the Lyft, and it tells me that to get me to this hotel that I'm at, it's going to be $400. And I was like, oh no, am I literally like all the way across the state from where it is I'm supposed to be even going?
No.
And no, I was just like a weird glitch with the system. I just like closed out of it, and then I got back in, and it was like $16.
Oh,
but
16 even. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Beaves and I were going to take a car from South Seattle back up to North Seattle after the Fish Sticks game. I was like, we'll take a bus all the way down. We'll take a car. That was almost $80. So we took a bus halfway there. So even just to get to one side of the city to the other here in Seattle, that would have been like an $80. The fact that you knocked it down to from 400 to 16 must have been a very pleasant surprise.
I mean, I don't know if it thought the hotel that I'm staying at, I don't think this matters. It's called Black Hawk. It's like a Bonvoy thing. But anyway, I think maybe it thought I was going to, there's this like town in Colorado that's kind of near Denver actually called Black Hawk that has like 1 million casinos in it. I don't know if it thought I was trying to go to Colorado. That seems, do you think it could get me to Colorado for $400? Actually seems like that's too low.
That's
price.
too low. Yeah, I don't know.
So I don't know where it thought, I don't know what, I mean, I had put in the name of the hotel correctly and Davenport, Iowa, and it just came up with this insane number. And I don't know if it was maybe what happened was like at that very moment in time, all of the Lyft drivers had logged off, which had created this like basically artificial crazy surge price or something that like only existed in that moment of time. Like just to say, yeah, that like maybe that's like, let's say there's 20 Lyft drivers that are usually in the Davenport, Iowa area or the Moline, Illinois area. But for whatever reason, all of them went into a Jimmy John's to get a sandwich at the same time. All of them logged off of the app for just that moment. And there was like one person left. And therefore, maybe that does something with the kind of surge pricing with the demand. Like if you only have one driver, it just shoots. I don't know. It was the weirdest thing. But I really had this moment standing in the Moline airport going, are you kidding me right now? Am I in like literally in the wrong part of the state right now for this?
Do you keep singing Moline to the tune of Jolene? Because every time you say that, I'm singing it in my head, Moline.
I have not stopped since arriving. Moline, 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 Moline. Boy, like, talk about realizing you can't sing when you're mid-song.
No, you started it. You started in a nice register.
I started in a bad place with that, and
you have higher expectations for yourself than I do for myself. I believe that everybody there, at least anybody who knows that song, has this experience, right? Like, don't you think you could do? I mean, you're not in Moline right now, I guess, but I feel like if you go to Moline, you could almost Pee Wee Herman it, right? When he says the stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas, everybody finishes it for him. I
thought you were going to say if I go to a biker bar in Moline, I could win everyone over by getting up on the bar and doing a dance to the song Jolene, but changing the lyrics.
Tequila. Anyway, yeah. So I do think that's definitely a hazard of going in there. But I'm glad.
No,
$16.
it's been jangling around my brain this whole time. Definitely.
We was hoping for some razzle dazzle.
Razzle dazzle.
That's right, man. Razzle dazzle.
On your mark.
On your mark.
Get set.
Get set.
Now ready.
Ready. Go.
Everybody razzle dazzle.
All right, it's time to thank some dazzling donors. These folks are donating a dazzling amount of dough to TBTL voluntarily. They don't have to do this, but they choose to, and that's how this thing can exist. 100% listener-supported podcasting right here. Getting excited, Andrew, about the thon.
Yep,
getting
we
excited
have plans.
To tell everybody about it. I think the listeners are going to get a real kick out of it. So watch this space for that information. But in the meantime, we want to say thanks to our pal, David Kreutz in Setagaya, Tokyo, Japan. Now, David does not give a pronouncer. He says good luck and does a little kind of emoji that's kind of like laughing or whatever. And what I'm realizing is, off air, Andrew, you said we didn't get a pronouncer with David's name. And I said, I think it's Kreutz. I think it might be Kreutz. I think this might be a zigging. Now, that last name is the same last name of a University of Washington Husky named Olin Kreutz and longtime Chicago Bear. So that's my reference point for the name, but I have this distant back of my mind memory that this is a variation on that.
Should we hear what the janky internet says about this? How to pronounce this name? I typed that in. Let's see what they say here.
Yes,
pronouncenames.com.
Here we go.
Croots.
Croots.
Okay. If you're saying it differently, David, you're wrong. This is a weird place for you to get that message.
It's a 30-second video. I am not hitting go on this over and over. It just keeps saying
Do we have the correct pronunciation of your name?
Are you kidding me?
That's great.
You tell me.
I really like that website.
Yeah, I guess so. Croots it is.
All right. Thank you, David. David is in Japan and says, first, let me start by renewing my plea to retire the Razzle Dazzle song.
Oh.
Too late, David.
I should have. Well, I could have at least not. If I had pre-read this, I could have at least not played it there. But oh well.
This year, I'll only offer one suggestion to replace it: Yub Nub, the Ewok celebration and finale. That actually would be kind of fun. That is a very. Let's see. Do we have it here? Oh, I don't have that audio with me on the road here. But
how about I
mean,
play
that
this
is a
underneath you for the rest of the message, just to honor David's wishes.
Well, let's hear it. First of all, let's hear it kind of in context. So, as if it were the Razzle Dazzle song, but I'm just going to do my little spiel about dazzling donors. Okay, so we can hear this.
Yeah. So I can't tag it with the Razzle Dazzle drop at the beginning from the movie. I just got to kind of start the music here. I could try that, but it would get real complicated. Let's just do this. It's intense. Very Putamaya.
All right. Let's thank some dazzling donors. These, of course, are the donors who are yub-nubbing a dazzling amount of dough, and this is how we can keep TBTL going all these years later. It's due to folks like David Croots. See, this song has more, has more not yub-nub part of it than I realized. We'd have to edit it down just to this part, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I also don't know who's performing this. I have a feeling this is not the version that appeared in the movie. I think I just clicked on the very first link that popped up, and I'm wondering if there's a bunch of Star Wars enthusiasts out there.
Do you think this is the Mysterious Voices of Bulgaria?
What is that?
You didn't have that music come into your early public radio days?
I don't think
there was
so.
There's this choir from Bulgaria called the Mysterious Voices of Bulgaria. It was sort of like, I didn't know about the Cocteau Twins yet. It was kind of Cocteau Twins for people that hadn't heard about the Cocteau Twins, I guess, or whatever.
Okay.
And it was one of those things I just heard playing some crazy, Saturday afternoon public radio thing or whatever. Maybe we're using it for the credits music on alternative radio or something, but I just got really into it.
Oh, really? No, I don't think I don't think I've heard of that. I made my little Putamaya joke before that you and I returned to quite a bit because those were hot in public radio circles in the late 90s and early 2000s. But no, that one I have not heard of. I'm getting really in my head about this, though. I think this is some cover song of this. I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah, it sounds a little more... Cause,
oh, that sounds real.
Well, that sounds
real.
It's I'm having an endorphin release. I'm thinking about having a fight on a jet. What do they call those? Speeder bikes?
Oh, speeder bikes, sure.
Speeder bike fight in the forest of Endor.
I had that toy growing up. You could push a button and the thing exploded into three or four different pieces.
I told you this sounds like I'm trying to lean into the Dickensian nature of my childhood, but I remember I had a wood, like a long piece of wood you could sit on that was in our garage when we lived on 76th Street. And my dad, I think, attached a couple of little kind of handles to it, and I would just sit on there and close my eyes and pretend I was on a speeder bike. And it was pretty fun, actually.
I love it.
It was actually, it was enjoyable. Anyway, David, we gave it a try, but we're going back to the Razzle Dazzle song. I'm sorry. David says, second, I don't have a business or cause to promote, so instead I'll promote my current country of residence, Japan. Y'all should come visit Japan, especially Americans, given how strong the dollar is to the yen right now. I've never been to Japan.
No, me neither.
And I should. I really should. I think in order to just understand more of the world, I need to check out Japan. Japan is an amazing place with something for everyone: food, nature, technology, anime, sports. If you like it, Japan has it in some form or another. Plus, Japan is incredibly safe, easy to get around. The transit system is awesome. You'd like that, Andrew. And the people here are super welcoming and friendly. Don't speak Japanese? Don't worry. English signage is everywhere. So what are you waiting for, dummies? Come visit Japan and feel free to reach out to me on Slack. If you do, I'm happy to help you plan your trip. Aw, David, that's really thoughtful.
Yeah.
TB Telethon Sugoi edition, Andrew.
Do you think that they have the equivalent of the E-line in Japan? And not I don't mean like a rapid ride like bus. I mean the behavior that one sees on the E-line.
Man, that is a good question. I want to say no, but it's because I have this stereotypical idea of Japan that I want to be careful about, even if it's my mother has said things that I think we could interpret as not particularly evolved around groups of people, but she says, but it's a compliment. Like if she's complimenting an entire group of people on her perceptions about them being good at math or something.
Yeah, I know what you're
it's
talking
like,
about. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I know it's a compliment, but we don't generalize that way. We shouldn't. So I don't want to generalize, but I do have this idea. I mean, as David says in his message of Japan being a very kind of rule-following culture generally, and like things being very clean, and like I'm feeling like it would be less the case that you might get hassled the way you've been occasionally hassled on the E-line. But that is such a wild guess by me about what goes on in a place I've never been yet, Japan. So I want to be delicate.
Do you know, Luke, and I don't think you do, that when you're at a White Center fish sticks game, I guess technically WC, I think they call it Dub C fish sticks, like Dub C, WC. When you're at a Dub C fish sticks game, it begins with a little motorized cart coming out onto the field. Kind of like that little boat that would bring pitchers from the bullpen to the mound back in the very earliest days of the Mariners. It's a small little vehicle like that. It's a tribute to the rapid ride lines of the Metro. It is a little E line or G line. It doesn't specify which line it is.
Is it sponsored by King County Metro?
I'm assuming it is, because it would be an interesting thing just to gravitate towards if you were just like spitballing as a baseball team. And so I'm guessing that it's a promotional thing, but this little bus comes out and it's kind of got the hallmark of a rapid ride line, because it's kind of got the red banner on it. And I felt I took some, it surprised me so much. I didn't get a good photo of it, but I did get a photo of it. I'll try to put it on the show page today. I felt very seen. I had just taken
I was going to say, that is
I took
pretty
the
much
E to the H to get there, and then what do I see on the field welcoming me?
By the way, I had a thought after yesterday's show, which was if they want to really lean into that fake baseball breaking the glass of the car, get it sponsored by Safelite.
Oh, yeah. That's a great idea.
You know what I mean? Like you do the clang, and then the sound of the ball and the breaking glass, and then Safelite repair, Safelite replace. I mean, the comedy writes itself.
I mean, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
That's all I'm saying. I mean, that's a freebie, fish sticks. Go make some money.
Yeah, I'm just glad that, because that's the thing. Baseball has always had a problem with finding sponsorship deals and like wedging them into various aspects of the game. So I'm glad you're out there looking for opportunities like that. So thank you for.
Well, I'm just saying for the fish sticks, not for the Mariners.
Yeah, no.
It's like I'm just trying to help these small baseball startups. The major league teams can take a long walk off a short pier, generally speaking, as far as I'm concerned. Maestro. I know that's not fair.
I kind of forgot what we were doing, but let me try this. This is going to be a disaster.
Really? You forgot what we were doing? Nice. We've also got to thank Nicole Oswell in Temecula, California. Nicole says, last year in my dazzling message, I briefly mentioned my oldest son, and when my message was read, I promised my youngers they'd get a shout-out this year. My 9-year-old son is an amazing straight-A student and 3-sport all-star, baseball, basketball, and flag football. He's got my type A personality, and he puts it to good use. Wow, that's a well-rounded kid.
Too well-rounded. Like, leave some for the rest of us, you know?
Yeah, you were thinking about going out for the middle school basketball team, weren't you? And now you can't because Nicole's son is dominating at the power forward position.
There were issues. There were other issues aside from that as well about me getting on the team, apparently. Something about bylaws.
You had a very convincing birth certificate, though, that did prove that you were.
Yeah.
It appeared to prove that you were actually 12 years old, but then, photographic evidence really didn't support that.
I was really, not that I'm going out for these teams. When I say leave some for the rest of us, it's not like I don't begrudge this 9-year-old being good at a bunch of things. I just like those of us who lack a lot of talent in a lot of different arenas. When you hear that somebody's both a straight A student and a star in 3 different sports, you're like, come on, and then I'm over here, just kicking at the dirt.
Right. It's a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
As far as talent. There's a finite amount of talent that's distributed through the human population. It sounds like Nicole's 9-year-old is hogging it.
That's right.
Quit hogging it. When's the last time you said quit hogging that?
Quit hogging that. That sounds like something somebody would say in a I think you should leave sketch. Well, he's hogging it.
I think he might actually say that about the loaded nachos. She's hogging all
maybe that's what
she's hogging all the good ones or something.
What did I do? I referred to myself.
Did you say that? Oh, sorry. Did you say that in Ohio when you were a kid? Did you guys say hogging things?
Stop hogging it all. Yeah. You're like you usually a sibling kind of thing or something like that.
Yeah.
I do think I referred to myself as an oinkster yesterday at one point because I remember making I don't know what I was I admitting to finishing something in the fridge, or I just remember saying, "Oh, Genevieve, I'm sorry. I was a bit of an oinkster yesterday," and I think that caught her off guard a little bit.
What had you done that had
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm guessing that I might have. Did I finish? Maybe I finished something, or maybe we're talking about my popsicle consumption. Oh, by the way, quick record correction here. I told you that Genevieve always busted my chops for getting sugar-free popsicles, and I swear she did, but I don't think I realized she had not tried one. And I come home yesterday, like late afternoon or something, and Genevieve's like, oh, because I just bought another box of sugar-free popsicles, and she's like, I hope it's okay. I'm sorry, I'm kind of going to town on your popsicles. I'm like, no, like God bless. I love
the plum popsicles that you left in the freezer.
Yes.
I've eaten them.
No, but I was like, more people to the popsicle party, absolutely. Like, chomp all you want, I'll make more. But also I said, but I thought you don't like the sugar-free ones, and I don't even know. I'm trying to figure out if in that moment she realized they were sugar-free, or she was also very pleasantly surprised. She even acknowledged, she's like, I made fun of you for these, but they're great. And I'm like, you know what? They're not as good as full sugar. They don't break apart. They just kind of break apart a little bit differently or whatever. They have a different mouthfeel, if you could believe me actually saying that in earnestness about a popsicle. But honestly, once you get used to a sugar-free popsicle, it ain't bad. And Genevieve is now on team sugar-free pop.
Love it. So now you don't have to have separate popsicle collections in different parts of the freezer or whatever.
Yeah. Exactly.
Would you eat my hotel room has a little kitchenette in it, and I was looking in. Well, actually, what I was doing was unplugging the refrigerator because it sounds like a Mack truck idling.
Yeah.
And I take the audio quality of this show very seriously, but I also opened the freezer and noticed that there was ice. There's an ice maker. And I went ahead and put some of that ice into a cup and had some ice water, which was delicious. Is that weird? Would you eat the ice out of the ice maker in a hotel room like that? Not the public one that's down the hall, but the refrigerator one? Do you trust that ice?
I don't think I've ever stayed in. That sounds like high cotton to me. I don't think I've ever had an ice maker in my own hotel room before. It's
a full-size refrigerator, a full-size Whirlpool refrigerator. So it's just imagine a typical ice maker in the freezer of a regular fridge from your house.
Then yes, I think I would do it. If it was some sort of weird standalone appliance that they had there or whatever, I'd definitely want to check it out. I used to never have any hesitation about that stuff at all until about, I don't know, I remember I was working with you at Cairo. Maybe this was on 15 years ago or something when we were on the radio doing the show with Dave Ross. Maybe I was reading some stories about how gross coffee makers are in the individual coffee makers in a hotel room, and how first of all some people use them for weird things other than coffee. You don't want to think about that too much, but also just think about a coffee maker. When you close that lid, all that condensation just stays in there.
Yeah,
and it started getting me thinking about what could be growing in there. So I don't even use and I'm not me, I'm not super precious about that kind of stuff, but I often use the ice makers that are the big industrial ones that are in a hotel area. And would that be any less gross? I mean, you still have condensation
Yes,
in there.
it would be less gross to me because it's this big commercial machine. The ice is constantly cycling through.
Yeah.
The residents of the clients of the hotel have nothing to do with like running the water line into it or anything.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's between you and the ice maker. Whereas this is kind of, there's an intermediary. It's like, who was the last person that stayed in this room? Did they? I don't know. I just had this, and it was
like,
totally.
They're not loading it though. Your argument about it still being like a dedicated line, like that refrigerator, as you describe it, is like nobody's making the ice. It's not like somebody's leaving ice trays for you, right? That's still a solid dedicated line.
No, it's being made by the refrigerator, so it should be fine.
Yeah.
I think I had a sense memory of the coffee story that you're talking about. Like that's one that I definitely now would never go near as and I don't do that anyway because I'm such a little baby. I need to have my half and half and this whole scene going on. It's rarely, I can't usually get my coffee the way I want it from the in-room thing anyway. So I always just go down to the Starbucks or whatever. You know who is riveted by this conversation is Nicole Oswill's 7-year-old daughter, who we have yet to even mention.
Is she a
we have
fantastic
spent
student?
so much time. Yeah, she is a fantastic student. But Andrew, that's not where it ends with this kid. Guess what else?
What?
Her charm and her quick wit are what make her stand out.
Oh.
She loves to sing and dance, and she's at the center of every social event. My kids keep me busy and, of course, can drive me crazy. You know, one of the things my mom used to say to us was when she would be trying to leave the house, which was all the time, we'd be like, "Where are you going?" She would go, "Crazy, want to come?" That was her. That was one of her lines. My kids keep me busy and, of course, can drive me crazy, but I love seeing them grow into wonderful humans. Thank you for keeping me entertained as I drive around town from one event to another. And lastly, let's all focus on our kindness, empathy, and compassion, showing and teaching the younger generations how to make this world a better place. That's what is keeping me sane with the state that we're in now. Love to you all. That's from Nicole. Shouting out her 2 youngest kids now. Sounds like you have quite the family going out there, Nicole. Congratulations.
Yes, and what a positive message to share on the show where Luke almost got into a bar fight at an airport.
And you also, it sounds like you're not jealous of Nicole's daughter. Do you feel like talent is also assigned to the genders? Do you feel
No,
like
I just didn't
her
want to.
son is stealing from the male talent population and that affects you, but you don't care what's going on with the female talent population?
First of all, gender is a construct. Secondly, no, I just didn't. I already felt like I'd already gone too negative with my little quip before. When I say stuff like that, I mean it as a compliment. When somebody is so talented and is talented in so many different aspects of their life, it's hard for me not to be a little bit jealous. But then I introduced that into the conversation, and I feel like it kind of came off as kind of negative, and I didn't feel like spreading that anymore.
That's a good instinct. Now, would you like to play a quick little game here called How Did AI Summarize the Content of the Dazzling Donor Message that you sent to me?
Sure. So I send you both of them at the same time. So this,
yes.
But the AI probably doesn't realize that. So it's just sort of summarizing all of the concepts in both David's and Nicole's notes.
And it just says, it's from Andrew Walsh. This is Dazzling Tuesday. And then it says, promote Japan, semicolon, Nicole's sons highlighted.
Great. Thank you, AI. You're making everything better. I'm getting really tired of AI.
Why do we even read the whole message? We could have just said, we'd like to thank our dazzling donors. They'd like to promote Japan and highlight their sons.
You know who doesn't donate to TBTL? AI.
Sam Altman.
Sam Altman?
That we know of.
Yeah.
If we could get him, though, I mean, it's probably definitely a dazzling donor level.
I would hope so, certainly.
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
All right, our top story, something that I say this sometimes on the show, Andrew, that you can really figure out where TBTL has kind of sort of what part of the culture it's staked out in the minds of the listeners when a news event happens, whether it was juggalos in the olden days or
bidets,
garbage anxiety,
garbage
what was the example you were
bin
giving?
Cleaning, bidets
Yes.
is a big one. Yeah,
like we clearly have. I think we've really owned this story of the Hamilton Corner billboard right off of Interstate 5 down there in I think it's like Vader maybe is technically the area that it's in. About, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes north of where I live and maybe an hour south of Olympia or something. Anyway, there has been this billboard that has an Uncle Sam on it, and for my whole growing up years as a kid going up and down I-5, there was always just had these crazy conservative messages on it because it was owned by some conservative guy who eventually passed away, and then his sons were kind of maintaining it, but then they clearly got a little they lost their their commitment to the bit because they've just had this. What is it? Something about Ukraine? Hasn't it been?
Yeah. Well, how many people
How
many people will we leave behind in Ukraine, or how many soldiers? And then the other side, I can't remember which one is northbound and which one is southbound. The other one is something about like soldiers didn't die in World War II so that you would be forced to show papers to eat a meal, which I think was left over from the COVID restaurant restrictions back in the day.
So it basically it made the news that this little triangle of land, which it would seem that its main value is just that it's right next to the freeway. It's in a very high, high traffic area. So if you were gonna, I don't know, do some sort of advertisement there or whatever, or maybe just build something, you're in a very convenient location for folks. That this piece of land was going up for sale. The family was going to sell this off. I think that they'd made their money in like farming and maybe even like an egg business or something. But anyway, it has now been announced. We had not a serious meeting, but we had a conversation with our colleague John Sklaroff about kind of going, is there any chance in hell that we could do some sort of GoFundMe to buy this thing? And the answer was no, because it sold for $2.5 million. And I'm very proud of TBTL, and I'm constantly amazed that financially this thing kind of maths out, but we ain't raising no $2.5 million.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's been purchased by the Confederate tribes of the Chehalis Reservation. And the tribe has, I guess, said to the Seattle Times that they are going to take down, this is the direct quote from the Seattle Times, the tribe intends to take down the right-wing messages that have lingered on the 40 by 13-foot sign for years. So that's actually kind of nuanced. I don't know if initially they're planning to take the sign down, but it sounds like they are going to take down the actual letters that are up there because let's be honest, if I'm the Chehalis tribe, I don't really care how many people I don't feel like it's in our general interest to be posing the question, how many people died in World War II, so you have to show paperwork to get food or whatever.
Right,
like,
right.
It's not aligned with whatever the messaging of the Chehalis tribe is, it seems, beside their interests. So they are going to take the messaging off, which is great, which is amazing. Like, I feel like this is kind of a really a W, because I could have also seen it being the case that some other nutty conservative buys the land to keep this thing going.
Yeah.
And it just gets worse. So this actually really does feel sort of like a win, that we don't have to stare at some like kind of crazy conservative message every time we try to go up and down I-5.
You know, they said that they don't have any solid plans to, at this point, to put a message up there, but they're open to it. And I got to be careful here. I was mentioning this to you in the break. I'm flipping between two tabs here, the Seattle Times article and this other article that has been making the rounds that is like a parody article, but it's so unfunny and has so much stuff that's based on the real story that I don't think a lot of people realize. It's like from a Medium, and it's attributed to Lewis County News, but news is spelled Knews, and it's basically the Seattle Times story that's not very funny, except every now and then there's like they make up these fake quotes from fake conservatives who don't see the irony of like kind of the freedom of speech issue here. And anyway, so I'm just trying to be careful here, and I'm also just sort of saying that to other listeners. If you see this story, especially kind of our national listeners, people who don't live here might accidentally end up with this other kind of like half funny or like a quarter funny article that has bad quotes in it. But this is a real quote from a representative of the tribe. I think this is the spokesperson or the director of government relations who has most of the quotes here. He says that some of the messages, the conservative messages that they've seen on the signs over the years, some of it's funny, some of it ain't. He said the tribe has, quote, had a good time thinking of crazy stuff we could put up there, but it hasn't landed on anything concrete, it being the tribe. One musing, Warnke said, that's the spokesperson, was a message informing people that the property is tribal land. So if you see an article that is purporting that the tribe is going to put a bunch of like slapback messages
or they already
have, that is a fake
because there's like
story.
a photoshopped version of the sign now that is, I don't think, reflecting what really is on the sign.
Yeah, exactly. The Photoshop one says, you took the land, we took the billboard, or whatever. And they seem to, according to the Seattle Times, they have a much more casual relationship to the billboard. They just wanted to, buy this land because technically it should have been their land anyway.
Right. And it sounds like they don't have any immediate plans even. They just thought it was a good opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
and they obviously had the resources, and so they're going to lock it down. But I have to say, it will. Well, this is what will be interesting. They should probably leave a billboard up there because, again, it's a very visible spot. And if there was anything you wanted to promote related to the tribe or other things, that's a really good spot for it. I wonder if they'll take Uncle Sam off of there because that's also sort of coded in a way. Like they'll take the letters down, but then will they leave Uncle Sam up, or do you think Uncle Sam also comes down and then it's just the billboard is just there, without anything on it?
Yeah, it does seem like my guess is they leave it up because it's kind of landmarky. But you are right. Again, I'm saying this just based on this article that only has some information, and also I'm pretty far away from the story. But they seem to have a pretty casual relationship. It doesn't sound like they were mad at the billboard. They're like, I don't know, some of them were funny, some of them weren't. Like, I don't know. We've had some fun, like, thinking up stuff, but we'll probably just maybe mention that this is our land or native land or something like that. And so if that's the tone from them right now, my guess is they just leave Uncle Sam up there. Although it is funny because it's not like Uncle Sam doesn't represent colonialism, right?
Right.
Uncle Sam does very seem to represent that sort of like whatever the gross manifest destiny of the United States.
Right, but suffice it to say, like you were clarifying, there doesn't seem to be any indication that this tribe bought this thing so that they could just totally clap back at the conservatives. Like that does not seem to be their energy on this at all. They just thought, well, this is a cool opportunity, and yeah, maybe we'll put something up there. But it's not like. Now, how would we feel about that if they did? It's weird. I almost think, even though I would agree with him, let's say that they bought the billboard in order to just kind of put super progressive messages up or something. It's weird. I would almost feel worse about that. Like, I like this outcome because, I don't know if it's like Michelle Obama when they go low, we go high or something. And I don't know if that's worked for our side of things necessarily. But I like the idea that it's just going to be a non-factor as opposed to well, now we got control of it. And now we're going to put our messages
group,
up.
Right? Because I don't even think that the tribe necessarily, nobody's a monolith, but I don't even know that a tribe necessarily would have super progressive slapback.
Totally.
It would have to be it would probably be it would be some other group. I almost said probably some annoying group or something. And again, an annoying group that I would probably that maybe
totally
fights
support
for the things that I support. But I hadn't really thought of that until you said that. But I think I agree with you.
Yeah, I would rather it just not be a factor than have it be like, okay, now we got the football, and now we're going down the field with it, with our messages. I think that ends up probably being about the best outcome. And in a time where we rarely get even a decent outcome, Andrew, I'll take it. I'll take the W wherever we can find it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, though. People's eyes will be peeled when even though it's just
in the first message that they put up, it's going to be intense.
It'll probably be blank for a long time. I'm prepared for just general, not disappointment, but not a sense of turnabout.
No, I think it's all going to be very, very mellow and very chill, whatever happens. So, all right. That is going to do it for today's episode of TBTL. Tomorrow, Andrew, I will have tales for you of attending the world's largest truck stop, where I will be getting my hair cut, I will be getting my teeth cleaned, just by a trucker, just by a nice trucker that I meet out there on the lot. But no, they have a dental office there, they have a hair salon, they have all kinds of stuff out there at the I-80 truck stop. So I'll tell you how that went, and I'm sure lots of other things, too. So please, if you can, join us for that. In the meantime, everybody have a great Tuesday. Take care of yourselves, and please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
Power out.